Thanks for staying with us. So the whole of Nigeria was talking about this issue last week. The Governing Council of the University of Lagos announced the sacking of its Vice Chancellor, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe. According to the reports, the decision was based on the Council's investigation of serious acts of wrongdoing, gross misconduct, financial recklessness, and abuse of office against Professor Ogundipe. Now, joining us on the show right now is Director of Academic Planning Unit, University of Lagos, also the former member of the Governing Council of the institution, Professor Obinna. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Good morning, Mariah.
Yes, Professor Obinna.
Good morning,
yes. Thank you for joining us today. So, at some point, hopefully, we'll bring in somebody else to join the conversation. But first, sir, we've heard the allegations the Governing Council had against Professor Ogundipe, issues of financial misappropriation, financial recklessness, not following due process. But your group from ASU is saying that due process was not followed. Could you explain to us what you mean by that?
Thank you very much, Mariah. Let me start by saying that I have been at the University of Lagos close to about 3 decades now, and I've held several administrative positions, including being the Dean of Postgraduate School about 5 years ago. Currently, I'm the Director of Academic Planning, and I was on the Governing Council, this present council, up to June 24th, 2020. So I have a fairly good knowledge of what has been happening in council. What I intend to do here is to provide some answers to what I can call some innocent questions that Nigerians have been asking on this saga. First, let me start with a report. This report, the Dagari report in question, was actually a report of a committee that was set up in council on the 5th of September 2018. And that committee was set up following the presentation of a budget performance report. And the terms of reference of that committee was to review the expenditure of the University of Lagos from May 2007, which was the time, 2017, which was when this council came into being. So that, as you can see, followed the membership of the committee headed by Dr. Saminu Dagari, a council member who is a senior lecturer in chemistry at the Federal University, Gashua, Dr. Reverend Yomi Kasali, Oladejo Aziz as the registrar, a deputy bossa, Adepoju Adefookwe, and then he had a PAR as the secretary. Now, this committee went about the business of reviewing the expenditure in line with what the council directed. Now, when the report of this committee was ready, the report of the Dagari committee was not presented to council, but by a letter from the registrar on the 26th of April, 2019, several queries were issued to members of the university community. In addition, the contents of this Dagari committee report were already in the public domain and circulating across the social media.
Right.
Now, coming specifically, what were the major findings of this committee and their recommendations? One of the major recommendations of this committee, or their major finding then, was that a sum of 2,797,973,276 naira kobo, 66 kobo only, has been misappropriated by the management of the University of Lagos.
Right.
The second one was on the fact that they now also recommended, in their recommendation, that the University of Lagos Council should take total control of all the university finances.
Okay.
And then recommended that the chairman of council, the pro-chancellor, should be the chairman of Senders Board.
All right, so because of time, I need you to move up close to where we are right now.
Yes, I'm giving you a background, but I'm going to come right there.
Right.
Now, the basis of this report was that when this report eventually came to council, members of council during that period complained that this report had not been taken by council in plenary, yet actions were already being taken on it.
Right.
It is this same Dagari report that is now being used to try and remove the vice chancellor. Now, the question is this: has due process been taken in the removal of the vice chancellor? The obvious answer is no.
Okay, let me pause you for a second.
This answer of no, let me come in there, man. The answer no has been re-echoed by those who know, the stakeholders. Committee of Vice Chancellors have said due process was not followed. The Senate of the University of Lagos has said due process was not followed. The Alumni Association, headed by Dr. John Momo, who is also a member of the Governing Council, has also said that due process was not followed.
Point taken. Let me get a few more
Professor
questions.
Chukwu, so what would be due process? What would they do that would show that he has followed due process? Because we have reports that he may have also admitted to some of these wrongdoings. So what would have been due process?
Thank you very much. At no point in time until I left this council on the 24th of June that Professor Ogundipe admitted to any of those allegations. Let's get that point clear. Now, the due process, as outlined in the Universities Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Act of 2003, stipulates, and I make bold to say that the Vice Chancellor may be removed from office by the Governing Council on grounds of gross misconduct at the initiative of Council, Senate, or the congregation after due process.
Okay.
He goes on to say that when the proposal for the removal of the Vice Chancellor is made, the Council shall constitute a joint committee of Council and Senate, consisting 3 members of the Council, one of whom shall be the chairman of the committee, and the members of Senate.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir. So what would be the proper process for appropriation of funds? Because one of the allegations, some of the allegations are that, you know, he had his residence renovated for 49 million. He had the residence of the Bossard renovated without approval of this spending. So what's the proper process to appropriate funds for development within the school? How do you have this process? What body audits the spending so that we know whether the allegations first are valid or not?
Thank you very much. Let me also add, before I get to your question, that following the prescriptions of the University Miscellaneous Act, there should have been a joint committee set up. The allegations against the Vice Chancellor would have been framed and given to him. May I also request that, in line with what is already on in the social media, can the Governing Council possibly avail Nigerians the membership of that joint committee, the allegations that was framed for Professor Gundipe, and at what meeting did they meet, the proceedings of that meeting, and then what was their recommendation to council in whole? Thank you. Now, coming back to your question, the university is a very highly organized system with a lot of internal controls.
Okay.
The Vice Chancellor cannot on his own appropriate money to begin to renovate his residence. appropriations are made through the university budget. The works department in the university is responsible for implementing the provisions made in that budget with respect to renovations. And all these were provided for in the budget. I also need to say that the renovations of 49 million, which is being put in the public domain, there was no contract for 49 million given to anybody living or alive to renovate the Vice Chancellor's Lodge. In line with the workings of the university, these repairs and renovations are done in lots. And this covered the main Vice Chancellor's Lodge, the guest house, and the boys' quarters attached to it. And this will also cover not only the physical materials, but furniture and furnishings that you have in that place.
Okay, let me.
Nobody is here saying that if there was an allegation of fraud, that it should be covered up. No.
Okay, all right.
No member of the University of Lagos community will cover that.
All right.
But we are saying that due process, which has been enshrined by the Universities Miscellaneous Act, should be followed.
Okay, we have to go on a break.
Because this applies to all federal universities in Nigeria.
Well, let's go on a break,
to
sir.
maintain the integrity.
Yes, we'll come back to this because when Nigerians hear due process, for us it's still very technical. Did you steal or did you not steal? That's the question Nigerians want to know. But let's go on a break. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we still have Professor Obinna Chukwu on the phone. Professor, as I said before the break, we're Nigerians, we've seen how our leaders have hidden behind this word called due process in trying to actually investigate issues of fraud. So my question to you, therefore, is yes, we understand due process wasn't followed. But the other questions, the allegations that certain people were hired without proper representation, there were misappropriation of funds, these are the real issues the Nigerian citizens want to know. Was Professor Gundipe, is he liable in these allegations in any way? Is there an iowa of a possibility that these allegations levied against him are true?
Thank you, Mariah. You recall that earlier I had said that when this committee submitted their report, the major allegation was that 2.4 billion was misappropriated by the university management. The only opportunity that council had to discuss this report on the 13th of May, 2019, that allegation, you can quote me, was debunked on the floor of council. And what was it? This committee hurriedly put together money that was set aside under needs assessment and TED fund funds, sitting in the TSA account of the university, computed them together and came up to say that 2.4 billion was missing. On the floor of council, where that was discussed, it was debunked. And council resolved that that particular issue should now be expunged from the report of this committee.
Professor,
the
please.
second side of it, let me also come in there too, is that the same committee that investigated this, there was no other committee that was set up in line with the provisions of the law, investigated, found him guilty, participated in the
Investigation.
removal of the Vice Chancellor.
Right.
Where lies justice in that process?
All right, let me pause you for a second, sir.
However, I also want to make bold, just like the issues of misappropriation of 2.4 billion was debunked.
Okay.
If the Vice Chancellor had been availed of fair hearing, there would have also been an opportunity to provide information.
Let me pause you on the fair hearing issue.
Issues and allegations.
All right, let me pause you for a second because I have a call. I have a call. We have another member of, actually a present member of the Governing Council of the University of Lagos, Dr. Bayo Adaralegbe. Good morning, Professor. Are you there?
Good morning, madam. Actually, I'm not a professor.
Oh, Dr. Bayo, I do apologize. Dr. Bayo Adaralegbe.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.
To you.
So,
and good morning to Professor Chukwu, my extra colleague on the council.
Yes. So I know that
good morning, Dr. Bayo.
there are issues of the fact that the Vice Chancellor did not get a fair hearing. I'll start from where Professor Chukwu left off. Sir, could you tell us categorically if indeed the former Vice Chancellor was given the opportunity to defend himself?
Thank you so much for this question, Madam Moderator. But before I answer your question, I think it is only fair for me to provide some context and some background into what led to the removal of the former Vice Chancellor. Dr. Babalakin's council was inaugurated in 2017. When he was inaugurated, we had an initial council meeting, and the Pro-Chancellor declared that he was not interested in contracts or anything in the university. He wanted the university to move forward. Now, 6 months after we were inaugurated, there was a vacancy for the office of the Vice Chancellor. By law, 3 people were supposed to participate in this exercise from the council. Dr. Babalaki was nominated as chairman. I was nominated on behalf of the council and a 3rd person. Senate also sent 2 representatives. Now, of all the 5 of us that participated, Dr. Babalaki actually abstained from voting one way or the other for who would become Vice Chancellor. He brought in 2 people as observers, Professor Briggs and Professor Baniro, formerly of UI, just to show the integrity of the process. Okay. So actually, he did not participate, and he made it clear at that meeting that he wanted a Vice Chancellor to emerge, that it will be clear that he was able to work with one way or the other. Professor Ogundepe, former VC of the university, actually emerged by just 1 vote. So I need to make that clear. Now, what has led to this removal? In 2018, Dr. Babalaki came to the council, and Professor Chukwu was there, and he said actually he had been Pro-Chancellor of the University of Maiduguri, and that he worked with a model that worked in Maiduguri. He was saving 20% of the internal generated revenue of the university for capital projects. University of Lagos had a barren land in Abuja, and it was the desire to have it developed the way he got the land in University of Maiduguri developed in Abuja. And so we found out that between the Vice Chancellor and the bursar were being played, and they were not being very, very forthright with the books of the university. And so an investigation panel was constituted. When the investigation panel came out with its findings, he found out that this Professor Ogundepe had actually been spending money behind the back of the Finance and General Purpose Committee of the university and the council. There was no council approval, there was no SDT approval. He had spent 112 million, claiming that he had spent this money renovating his house. He spent 49 million naira renovating the Vice Chancellor's lodge of the university. And he spent another 41 million renovating the house of the bursar. Now, none of these spending came before council for approval. Now, in addition to it, he was actually given a professor, Professor Ademola Adeneke, 2.4 million on a monthly basis. At the time the investigative report came back, he had actually spent 48 million towards this. And his explanation was that it was a security vote, and it was for making sure that the university was secure. Now, of course, council was not binding. And so he was given an opportunity. Now, to answer your question very specifically, he was given an opportunity to defend himself against the allegation. The registrar of the university, acting on behalf of the council, at the prompting of the Pro-Chancellor, actually sent a letter to him asking him to respond specifically to all the allegations against him. Professor Ogundepe responded to these allegations. He actually put up a 6-page defense of himself, where he actually tackled all these allegations specifically. He never denied that he spent this money. He never denied that, in fact, he did not obtain council approval. He never denied that, in fact, his spending did not go through Finance and General Purpose Committee. He never denied that, in fact, his spending did not receive standard board approval. So, based on that, we set in motion the process of a dictionary process. And unfortunately for us, a letter came to the permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education.
Okay.
So,
let me pause you for a second, sir. Okay.
Dr. Bayo, so when these allegations have been found and the council has seen that this person is wanting, what is the next process? How is the process of...
That was what I was getting into before you interrupted me.
Okay, please.
So we set in motion the process of disciplining the Vice Chancellor. Unfortunately, we received a letter from the permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, actually stating that we should hold action for the time being because of breach of peace and things to that effect. So we couldn't actually take any decision. And so the decision was finally taken on the 12th of August 2020 at an emergency meeting that took place in Abuja. And I should tell you that on the Council of the University of Lagos, and this is very, very important for you to know, on the Council of the University of Lagos, federal government actually has 5 separate appointees, federal government representatives. They participated fully in this decision. And of course, the internal members of the university were also there. There were 5 internal members as well. And the alumni had a representative on the council. He participated, and the federal government also has a representative of the Federal Ministry of Education. Unfortunately, he arrived late at this meeting and he was unable to participate. The meeting took place at 11 o'clock in the morning, and the federal government's representative, and I must say this because there has been a lot of confusion as to whether it was disenfranchised. Actually, he came in, he walked in at about 12:30 for 11 o'clock meeting. By that time, he had voted one way or the other. All the people that are now saying that there was no due process, they actually participated.
Okay, all right. Let me pause you for a quick second. Go ahead, Mary.
Yes, Professor Chukwu, please, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. Before Dr. Bayo came in, I wanted to ask if there was any agenda or reason you think that the governing council decided to lay these allegations against the ousted VC.
Thank you very much. Let me also thank my good friend, Dr. Bayo Adaralebe, who is a member of council, a staff, and a partner in Babalaki Chambers.
Hey.
I also want to put on record that this report, Moriah and Nigerians, the only aspect of it that was debated on the floor of council on the issue of misappropriating 2.4 billion was debunked. You can ask Dr. Bayo to confirm whether what I'm saying here is not right.
Professor Chukwu, does the University of Lagos...
Now, secondly, the fact that this media trial continued, he has rightly pointed out that the Federal Ministry of Education wrote a memo asking council to stop further debate on that matter. You will recall that sometime last year, on the floor of the House of Representatives, there was a motion for them to come into the issues happening in UNILAG because of the damage it was doing to the collective will of everybody.
Okay.
So, Professor Chukwu, please, let's look into the substance of this allegation.
Look at all the issues and gave a clean bill of health.
Okay, let's look into the...
communication came from the clerk of the House to the National Universities Commission.
Right. Okay, Professor,
let's look into the substance of these allegations. It is the first time in my life I'm hearing that a university has security votes. You know, I would think those things belong to governors, not a university vice chancellor. So what is your take on the security votes allegation paid to another professor within the council?
Monthly.
Thank you very much. Let me also say that security of the campus is very paramount. that we are here on campus enjoying peace and security means that some people are working somewhere. I make bold to say that there has been an instituted mechanism through which the University of Lagos is secured through an outsourced outfit. Monies are not paid to anybody, but through that outfit. The contention of council was that when the, the contract for that outsourced outfit expired, why did they not come back to council to renew that?
So is that not grievous enough?
Okay.
Anybody giving our money to another professor to be sending for security?
We run out of time.
The security of the campus is paramount.
We run out of time. But Dr. Bayo, just for a moment, they said that you work in the Babalaki chambers. Is that correct?
I'm really, really surprised and very, very disappointed. And this is the problem, and this is the morass that the university system in Nigeria has really fallen into. Look, remember, J.F. Kennedy, when he was president in the U.S., his blood brother was Attorney General in America. As we speak, President Trump, his son-in-law, his senior advisor in White House. What is the issue? You see, these are people who have the mindset that federal government appointment is about lining pockets. And they just simply are wrong. And this is the kind of thing that we're trying to correct. Look, I'm in the University of Lagos. I'm a proud member of the council. And I believe that I've contributed to the development of the university. And look, you know what? All I collect as teaching allowance in the university is 60,000 at every meeting.
Okay.
I have not sat down with anybody to share contracts.
Fantastic.
So
on that note, we have to wrap up. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I have to go now, but thank you very much both for sharing your thoughts on this issue. And thank you very much, Professor Chukwu, for joining us this morning. Unfortunately,
thank you,
we are running out of time.
You didn't give me an opportunity to give a parting shot.
Unfortunately, I think you already gave your parting shot. We have to wrap up. Thank you very much, sir.
30 seconds is that let the due process be followed.
Okay.
The council should avail Nigerians, the joint committee of Senate and council that tried Professor Gundipe, the allegations that were framed against him, the proceedings of that meeting, and the recommendations that he should be removed.
On that note, thank you very much. We have to wrap up. That's all we can take on the show. As I said before, Nigerians are used to this phrase, due process. And let us go back to the allegations. What happened?
Yeah.
Was money taken? Did he spend the 112 million naira on these renovations of his house and all that? That's the real issue, not so much of the process. Stay with us. We'll see you next time.
You can watch Your View on TVC every Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Nigerian time on DSTV channel 418, GOTV channel 27 and channel 47, StarTimes channel 121 and channel 307, Play TV channel 801 and channel 190, UHF 49, Sky channel 515 for UK viewers. Watch live on Facebook at TVC Connect and on our website tvcentertainment.tv/livestream.